Welcome to Experimarketing, the podcast where we innovate, create, and appreciate. Powered by Mostly Automotive Marketing with Matt Wilson. Here's the host of Experimarketing, Chief Experimarketer, Colin Carasquillo.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Experimarketing. This is Experimarketing episode 6, The Right Spot-ify. See what I did there? I've gotten so punny over all these Experimarketing episodes. A couple of housekeeping items. I want to thank Jim McCarthy Voiceovers, for that awesome introduction of Experimarketing. You can go visit him at jimmccarthyvoiceovers.com. We'll also have that when I bring my co-host on, Matt Wilson. Drum roll, please.
Oh, hello.
There he is.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, Matt. How are you?
What's up, Colin? How you doing, man?
I'm doing very well. You know, it's another great episode that we have ahead of us. Really exciting. We're going to be talking Spot-ify today. And, for me, I know, especially during this whole COVID-19 pandemic, which we're still, fighting, music has been something that has kept me grounded, has kept me going. I listen to it every day on my way into work. I listen to it every day on my way home from work, and it's just something that's become a fabric of my life. How do you feel about music?
Oh my gosh. I've always been a music guy. I don't get people who aren't music people. Like, I don't understand it. What do you like to listen to? I don't listen to music that much. What? How do people not listen to music? I don't get it.
And that's one of those things. I think music is honestly, it's a very personal thing too, which is why we wanted to talk Spot-ify today. Because right now, in this age, when we're talking about making a connection with the customer, dealers and marketers really need to think outside the box, right? And instead of just doing these, yes, they're tried and true methods, which we know prove a good return on ad spend or a return on investment, they really need to get in front of a customer and connect with a customer in a way that music does. So leverage the power of music to get in front of the customer. Now, with that stated, I want to bring on our very special guest today. And I have to say that this is our guest's first podcast. Oh. So let's hope it is the first of many more to come, but that this is also his best experience on a podcast. So with that, we have Craig Weingarten, who is the global head of industry, automotive, and QSR at Spot-ify. Craig, how are you?
I'm good, Colin. How are you guys doing?
We're doing really well. Really excited to have you on. Now, Matt and I, we had our little introduction call prior to this, and we were laughing because none of us knew what QSR was. So I quickly Googled it, and I found out, and correct me if I'm wrong, that it's quick service restaurants, right? So it's like fast food?
You are correct.
And then go ahead.
No, fast food and faster, it could be sit-down service as well. So anything from your Paneras to your Red Lobsters.
So we were then joking, and we said, how does that and automotive go together? And I said, well, I guess like drive-throughs, you could get your new car and then go to the drive-through of these restaurants.
There is some similarities when it comes to when it comes to the regionality and how restaurants advertise. So there is there is a basically a tier 3 of the QSR industry. So that's why we've grouped them together.
Interesting. I thought that'd be like if I handled marketing for automotive and toothpaste. Like, I'm like, how do these two things go together? But that makes sense.
Maybe we found a new business play for dealerships is put a drive-through there, and then we can work on it together.
There you go. So with that, thank you for clearing that up and for obviously the great little banter. But before we get into this, we obviously always like to learn more about our guests, their passions, what got them into the industry. So please introduce yourself above and beyond our introduction and tell us about your position at Spot-ify and what makes you you.
Great. Thanks, Colin. My name is Craig Weingarten. I am the global head of automotive at Spot-ify. We also call it the CDO, which is the category development officer. My position is basically twofold. One is I'm out in the marketplace talking to anyone in the automotive industry about how Spot-ify can help them get more customers and talk to customers. But on the other hand, I'm here to help our sales team and help them craft a story, help them in the back of house build new toolkits that we might need to help the advertising. My background is a lot like everyone else's in this industry. I started on the agency side, so worked my way really across, either worked at agencies that were completely focused on automotive, or I was on automotive accounts, so worked on everything from all of the General Motors brands prior to bankruptcy, and then the ones post bankruptcy. Worked on Volkswagen America, was at Ford and Lincoln's global agency of record, and then about almost 4 years ago, Spot-ify came calling with a really interesting opportunity to help run, at the time, U.S. automotive. That's since turned into global, and here we are today.
Well, that's it. So it compounded on itself. And as usual, I mean, we have these awesome guests, you included, Craig, thought leader, forward thinker with so much experience on the automotive side of things and in the automotive industry. But for the dealers out there, right, aside from maybe they listen to Spot-ify themselves, or they have children, right, because it's the hip thing to do. They have young millennials or whoever it may be, Gen Z, that's listening to streaming radio on Spot-ify, curating these awesome playlists. For the dealers out there that might not know about Spot-ify, tell us, what is Spot-ify?
Spot-ify is the world's largest audio platform, streaming platform. Over 300 million users globally, 92 countries and counting. That also includes over 100 million in the United States per ComScore. If you want to go onto a platform and listen to your favorite song or make a playlist, we have over 60 million songs on the platform. And now if you're interested in podcasts, we are either close to the number one or now the number one podcast platform in the world, with over 1.5 million titles. Wow.
So, hey, put in a good word for us at Spot-ify there about this awesome podcast.
Listen, in your introduction, you're right. I joined Spot-ify almost 4 years ago, never thinking that I was actually going to be on the Spot-ify. And here I am in my first podcast, excited that my family gets to hear my voice outside of just in the house.
No, we're really excited for that too. And so, obviously world's largest streaming platform, and like you said, introducing podcasts. We know podcasts are becoming this awesome outlet for all kind of content producers, dealerships included, marketers, really as a way to generate opportunities for business. So, I'm not telling dealers, hey, they should go out and start a podcast, but it definitely is something that maybe they would want to consider. We've seen some success, both Matt and I. But let's talk about application to the auto industry. One of the things that, both Matt and I have seen, and Craig, I'm sure you've seen this too, in the midst of COVID-19, we had, mandatory shutdowns, dealerships, businesses were impacted greatly. I mean, whether they had to shut down all of their sales side of things, which is what we had to do in New Jersey, and were able to leave their parts and service operations open as essential businesses, or everything had to shut down. But once we reopened, we learned, and it was this awesome wake-up call, and it's a blessing in disguise, that dealers needed to be more efficient with their advertising expenditures, right? Mitigate the opportunities for waste. And a lot of that, although I don't knock it all the time, but traditional broadcast outlets like traditional radio, okay? So if we're looking at this in terms of an application to the auto industry, talk about Spot-ify and how this could help dealers get their message across to a targeted or curated audience at a more cost-effective means, if you will.
Yeah. So I'll ramble a little bit. So tell me when to be quiet. There's a bunch of ways. The main thing that we like to bring about Spot-ify is like a lot of your other guests that you've had on here, is not necessarily cost effective in terms of price, but in value that we bring. We are able to bring a curated audience, and that curation could be anything from knowing that someone is a certain age at a certain life point, so they're going to buy a vehicle. So whether they're getting married or moving to a first home or having their first or second or multiple children where they need to buy another vehicle, all the way to utilizing ODC and having an auto intender segment that they're targeting in a local area. Mm-hmm. You're right, broadcast and radio, while great and bringing a lot of scale, don't actually help them with that curation. And now more than ever, especially with the money that the budget that dealerships have in order, for marketing, which is just getting smaller and smaller as their budgets for everything else is getting bigger and bigger, need to make sure that the value that they're getting out of their media brings brings people to the dealership, gets them test driving vehicles, and then gets them driving off in a new car.
Listen, I thought that was very succinct, so you didn't ramble at all. That was great. No, so one of the things though, we talk about audience curation, which I think is exceptionally important for dealers to really understand the concept behind that, because not only does it work on your platform, right, Spot-ify, but that idea in general is what dealers need to run with in their other advertising expenditures. Is it's curating that right audience, and whether it's people that are in market or are a little more mid-funnel, upper funnel, let's say, and creating that brand awareness or brand consideration, it's exceptionally important. Now, talking about the demographics and the ODC, so people that you guys have their information, things like that, in terms of where they would be in the purchase cycle. I think one of the things that really makes Spot-ify stand out, and what we've discussed in our previous calls, is this whole idea about moods and moments, right, on top of data and the lifestyle component of that. So can you unpack that a little bit more for us?
Yeah. So Spot-ify our streaming intelligence, and basically, anytime you're on the platform, whether you're listening to a certain song or you're skipping a song or you're creating a playlist or you're adding music to the playlist, gives us a data point. And the reality is that all of these platforms have a ton of data. And it's not the fact that we have data, but how we utilize and package that data for our clients. And that's where that curation comes in. So imagine that you're creating a playlist called Nursery, or called Road Trip, or anything that might actually clue us in to who you are. In fact, if you go on Spot-ify's, if you go on the app now and type into the toolbar any sort of mood or moment, you're going to see a playlist for us. Because what we never realized, I almost wish we did realize this back in 2008 when we started the company, but people telegraph what they're doing. It's almost like the podcast that you had with John Gray, where Pinterest knows, because people actually telegraph in their pins and in their boards what they want to do. And it's the same way on Spot-ify. People are telegraphing that. Now, on top of that, the type of music you're listening to, the type of subgenre that music is, actually tells us a bit about who you are and what mood or moment you're in, whether it's calm and meditative, or whether it's, the beat goes up and you're in a more party or festive mood. And that tells us a lot about that. And that's all targetable.
No, that's really incredible, and something that obviously I don't think many people know, even myself, right? I'm an avid Spot-ify user. That's actually what I use for my music, and I'm not just saying that because you're on here, but that's what I do. And like I said in the introduction, I listen to music on my way to work. I listen to music on my way home from work. It's a sad day when I'm not listening to music. I mean, when I work out. Yes, Matt, go ahead.
Is it true it's yodeling music, that yodeling is your favorite type of music?
I actually before this call looked up his profile, and yes, you're right, it is totally
Yodel.
Yeah, you guys. Now I need my meditative playlist because you're stressing me out. Now, so with that though, one of the things that you just had touched on, one are these moments, these moods, these playlists. A fun question: is there a car buying mood or a car buying playlist on there? Or do we have to create that?
I think we have to create it. There's not a car buying mood, and so our first party data doesn't tell us, unless you make a playlist saying I'm going to go buy a car, doesn't tell us that you're in a car buying mood. So we have to actually marry third party data with that third party data.
So I think we would probably have to create something, Matt, that is more like soothing to start, and then you get excited, so maybe it gets more ramped up, and so on and so forth.
I'm going to text our software people as soon as this is over.
How about like 100 songs that mention cars in them? I'm an old radio guy, so I can figure that out. Every country song talks about a truck, so.
There are a number of playlists that have songs songs that Chevrolet or songs that Ford has been are tons. One other thing to bring up that you said earlier about curation is the thing about Spot-ify that's really interesting is that it's one user sign in. So you brought up that you listen to Spot-ify on your drive to work, your commutes. We actually, because you've signed in, we know what what platform you're listening on. So are you gaming and listening to Spotify? Are you on, are you listening through a connected speaker in your home? Are you driving and listening to Spotify either through USB or Bluetooth or CarPlays? We have that capability, so we can actually target in that way as well. And that gives you a second piece of first-party data that allows you to actually tailor the message.
I think that that's incredible, and that's one of the things that we're going to talk about here. So in this audience curation, we do have, it's a good segue, we do have the whole idea of first-party data. And one of the things that, Matt and I harp on all of the time, people are probably tired of hearing it, but is data, data, data. And, that's how dealers are going to make the most informed decisions in terms of their advertising and their media mix moving forward, right? So end of 2020, but even 2021 and beyond, it's utilizing the data. So you talked about tailoring a message, which essentially is enhancing the customer experience, because I believe that the customer experience starts in terms of the advertising and marketing, right? You want to make sure that you have this hyper targeted and super relevant message.
Yeah.
So first party data, dealers can absolutely, and correct me if I'm wrong, but they can utilize their first party data and essentially upload that or to Spotify, and then on top of that, leveraging these moods and lifestyles to create this perfectly curated audience.
If dealerships are using, let's say if your dealership is using a digital marketing agency that has either to buy direct or programmatic, absolutely. You can data layer all you want on top of that, either PG or PMP or a direct buy with us. If you're a dealership that's not using one of the larger digital media agencies and doesn't have that programmatic capabilities, then we have something called Ad Studio. Ad Studio today is a little bit more limited on the type of dealer or second party or dealer first party data, but we'll get there at some point where we'll be able to start uploading that and then targeting those people.
So once again, focusing on data in terms of attribution, right? So this is something that, once again, 2021 is going to be the year of attribution, and dealers are going to say, hey, I spent this money and I spent it smart, right? They've listened to us already. They've said, wow, we're making educated, informed decisions. We're going to do this right. Now, once they spend the money, they want to know what the money got them, right? Sales. So attribution, for you guys, is there any sort of attribution that you can provide to dealers? What does that look like? I mean, match back with sales and so on and so forth.
So from a direct or programmatic standpoint and data layering, we have footfall traffic surveys, footfall traffic data. We have ODC, which gives us what they call a buy-through rate study. And then on the dealer side with their data, then they can obviously utilize anything that they have. But from those 2 points, we can look at footfall and we can look at a BTR study.
I think that that's very important, because a lot of the things that, as marketers, right, and I say this a lot, as marketers, our job is really actually to be skeptics, right? Yep. I consider myself, or I put it in my job description is I am the best skeptic ever, because what you want to do on behalf of your organization is you want to prove that what you're recommending or what you're doing is actually paying dividends and providing that return on investment. But a lot of that comes through being a skeptic. And skeptics always say, well, did these people come into my dealership? What does this solution do that other solutions don't do? And so far, Spot-ify is a very, very special solution that I don't think a lot of dealers are really taking advantage of or thinking about introducing into their marketing mix, and they absolutely should. So with that stated, how does a dealer get started on Spot-ify?
So it's actually very easy. First off, if they're using a digital marketing agency, either with co-op or on their own, then we probably have a salesperson who's talking to that agency. So it's really just a conversation with them on the media mix that they're using, and ask the question, and we can make sure that someone gets in touch with them. If they're on their own and not using a digital marketing agency, then we have something called Ad Studio, which I brought up earlier. And Ad Studio is our self-service platform. Right now, they can target location and audio, and then actually we'll make the ad for them, which is a nice little perk utilizing Ad Studio. Down the road, Ad Studio will become a stronger platform, but right now it's in its nascent beginnings, and we're getting that moving. But it's actually a very easy process, and most dealers these days are using digital marketing agencies, and we can work directly with them.
That's great. And so now that the dealer's on the platform, right? They've said, wow, let's go use Spot-ify. We're on here. We got Ad Studio. We know Spot-ify can create this awesome ad for us. Let's talk campaign ideas. One of the biggest things that we like to do at Experimarketing, not only innovate, create, and appreciate, but we hope that people take this information, that they embody it, they run with it, and they make it their own. But it does help to have a little tip or starting point. And so let's talk campaign ideas. So give us, some examples that come to the top of your mind. I have some, but obviously I want to let you speak first as the expert here. So by all means, what can dealers do with the Spot-ify platform?
Listen, I think audio offers a range of opportunities. We're so used to, dealers are so used to, and really not just dealers, but a lot of industries are so used to TV and the jingle on the radio. Now we just need to think about this in terms of the audience and how do we get that message in front of the audience. I'm gonna be honest, I actually think from a dealership perspective, let's just be straightforward and let's utilize the knowledge and the technology and the data that Spot-ify has and the data that the dealerships have and target the right people with the right message. The beauty of Spot-ify is we don't have huge ad loads. Unlike TV or unlike traditional radio, we don't have 6, 7, 8 minutes in a row of commercial. It's small. Our users actually, the reporting that we get back is the users actually don't mind or enjoy the ads themselves because they tend to be very targeted and personalized. So let's use that and let's just tell a message. It's okay to have a jingle if we want to have a jingle. Right? Some of the jingles I like, but let's actually just utilize the platform as it's supposed to be used. And I think we're going to see some really great success on it.
No, that's really cool. So I think that's a massive takeaway, honestly. And that's what's sticking out to me is this whole idea that the users don't mind or actually enjoy the ads because they're tailored. And it's so true to the person's lifestyle, right? It's hyper personalized. I mean, you talk about these other platforms, right? Digital platforms, and users are saying, no, the ad is intrusive. The platform will not be named, but as soon as 5 seconds is up, I'm going to hit skip, so on and so forth. You guys can figure out what that platform is. But I think that that's very interesting. But talking about the digital side of it as well, and this is just something that came to mind to me, but I think also what's very important with Spot-ify is there's actually, depending on what you're listening on, I think it's probably would be the same on desktop, mobile, tablet, so on and so forth. But there's a digital component as well, correct? Where someone can click through on the ad and it could potentially bring them to a landing page or it could bring them to the dealership's website, right? That's correct?
We do. We have the ability. You have the ability to click off. On certain types of ads, you have the, for the most part though, it is someone listening because it is audio. So in case you brought up the car, we don't want people clicking. We want people driving. And
no crashes.
Safe, right? So we want to make sure that they remember the ad and then visit that website later. One of the things you mentioned that I thought was really interesting just now is one of the things that we talk about internally is for the consumers, don't ruin my vibe. We want to make sure that the ads that they hear are positive to them and are helpful in their day. We don't want to inundate them with ads because we don't want to ruin their vibe. They're on Spot-ify to listen to music, to hear a podcast, to build a playlist. They're not there to listen to 5 straight minutes of ads where they're going to then walk off and go to a different platform. So we want to make sure that everything they're doing, and that comes from the ad load that we bring onto the platform, and also the ads that are there are additive, not and a benefit to what they're doing.
Yeah, no, that's I love it. So we've heard some really great things. Don't ruin my. I might change the name of the episode to Don't Ruin My Vibe.
Don't ruin my vibe.
I really love that, and we've heard a lot of great things. Obviously, you had mentioned John Gray before from Pinterest. And one of the things that they stated at Pinterest, which this is up there with that, was essentially it's about yourself, not your selfie. And I love "Don't Ruin My Vibe." I think I might on my wall behind me. I might put like these great quotes that we've heard throughout our time with Experimarketing. That's a good one. Thank you, Craig.
It is like Pinterest, Spot-ify, and like a lot of these platforms. Excuse me. People are there. Screen time is becoming, people are tired of screen time. People are tired of just being inundated with looking at video and looking at, hearing everything that's going on in the world today. And they're looking for sort of that oasis where they can just go enjoy themselves, discover something, personalize their experiences. And that's what a lot of these are bringing. And that's why dealers should start looking at a lot of these platforms. Is it just a new way of targeting and talking to these audiences, because that's what they're looking for.
Yeah, I could not agree more. I mean, one of my biggest things for 2021 for the Nielsen Automotive Group is diversification of expenditures and utilizing the data and making these informed decisions to say, hey, let's go find the white space where other individuals are not necessarily advertising, but we know that our desired target markets, based upon the demographic data and psychographic data and all of these different things, we know that those individuals are there, and it's all uncharted territory. And I think one of the biggest things that we had discussed in our initial introduction call was just that for Spot-ify on the tier 3 level, that I know you're super excited about it, but it's new. And you guys would absolutely take input from, dealers to learn and to make the product better and to tailor it to both benefit, both parties. But, with that stated, I like I said, could not agree more on the fact that you need to start utilizing these platforms where you're actually connecting with an individual on a much deeper level than just scrolling through the news feed or, because it becomes part of the noise. So I love that. And, just to touch back on the campaign ideas that we want to give to dealers, right? So we got on a little tangent, but I welcome those. We had talked about new car data or new car ideas, used car ideas, service specials, potential retention campaigns, so on and so forth. So, I mean, with that, dealers listening, really, sky's the limit. As previously just talked about, Craig and his team over at Spot-ify are listening in terms of what we would like to make the product, better, although it seems like it's great thus far. So let's actually focus on one thing I think is very important, is this retention, the idea of retention. So how may a dealer leverage their first-party data, the awesome data that you guys provide in terms of these moods and interests and lifestyles, to come up with a successful retention campaign, if you will?
So actually, it's actually a really interesting place to play, because a lot of the digital marketing agencies I'm talking to don't bring up retention. And I think retention, dealers have a group of people that go back, year over year and utilize Spot-ify. So one is, if they're buying programmatically, we can use their first party data and data on their side of the DSP and target those individuals. Scale is obviously going to be somewhat of an issue at a local level, but it's possible to get that done. I actually think another area is, let's utilize Spot-ify, build a playlist, send a playlist out, utilize it as a small gift, to your customers and audience as something unique and different. They all dealers send out emails all the time. Probably half the time people aren't really reading them, but if there's something that comes at 3 years, at 5 years, or at a timed oil change, utilize Spot-ify in just a completely different way, which is not necessarily from the media point of view. And my sales team will probably yell at me for saying that, but let's utilize Spot-ify as just a little gift that they can bring to brighten someone's day.
I think, once again, that's another great idea. I mean, I'm just seeing this, how you could, and that's why I love this. I love these conversations. What an awesome, hey, your lease is up, it's the last month. What do you send out to them? Closing time.
Yeah, absolutely. Why not? Why not? Why not utilize, people utilize Spot-ify for discovery and personalization. So a dealership, why not play the same game and utilize Spot-ify? And by the way, that's kind of free. So here's a free idea of, create a playlist, utilize the rules that we have on how you build a playlist, but create a playlist and send it out and have some fun with it.
That's really, I mean, I love that. I'm kind of my mind's blown, if you couldn't tell. So for dealers out there, here's another thing too. We always talk about sales personnel, right, at a dealership, kind of branding themselves and utilizing these different outlets and platforms, with all these individuals that we've had on the show, all representing such great platforms that, like you said, are essentially free, that they could, one, generate new opportunities for business on, that they could retain their existing customers on. It benefits the dealership as long as the dealership has a process in place to monitor what's going on those platforms. But salespeople, step up and do something so unique, like creating a Spotify playlist for your customers. That, I mean, I've never heard of that before. That's going to make you stand out in a sea of the same. You will be so unique.
Listen, I know the salespeople at dealerships don't have a lot of time to get the message across to someone who comes in and is buying a car, but that opportunity to sit with them and someone who's buying a car and put their phone on and plug in and show them how to use Spotify and give them their first playlist that this person created. It's a really cool opportunity and just makes it a little bit more personalized at a dealership where a lot of people probably don't think there's a lot of personalization.
Absolutely. No, I'm really, I like that one a lot. I like that. I'm going to go talk to our sales manager after this. Like, I want every single person when they sell a car to download the Spotify app and build a playlist.
Listen, I would love it. I think we want more people to be listening to Spotify in the car itself. So anytime a dealer and a salesperson at a dealership is going to teach someone how to utilize Spotify in their infotainment system and give them a personalized playlist, that's thumbs up for me.
Really cool. So with that, and I mean, obviously we had talked about this uncharted territory. It's becoming one of my favorite words, uncharted, right? It's exciting, could be dangerous. We don't know what's out there, but you know, with that, and as you guys continue to chart what's happening at Spotify, what's coming up? Is there anything that you can talk to us about? You had mentioned the ad studio, which is already fully functional. But I mean, in terms of tier 3, can we hear some potential rumblings and what's going on?
You know, right now there's nothing on the calendar that I can, that I can actually talk about at the moment, but there's always something going. We're very focused on building more tools for our clients and advertisers. From a tier 3 perspective, it's a rollout for us. You said something earlier about wanting to listen to dealerships. I've been on a roadshow talking to as many digital media agencies that deal with tier 3 as possible to hear what they need. And that's all we're trying to do right now is just learn more from tier 3, which is, we have dealers on the platform, but it's still a somewhat net new area for us. So the more information we have and the more things that we know that they need and the tools that work for them, that's the information that we need to build that and get those tools on the platform for advertisers. And that's the goal of this meeting this podcast that we're having and all the other meetings I'm having right now.
No, I think that's a great goal, and it's obviously raise the awareness of the Spotify platform, but its application to the auto industry. I mean, just a couple takeaways from this great conversation, Craig. We have obviously the whole idea of the audience curation. I mean, I think that's probably one of the, if not the strongest thing that Spotify does, is it's this great outlet that people really connect to because it's so personal. But as a result, dealers can curate this highly targeted audience and send them a super relevant message that actually connects to these individuals based upon the point in life that they're in or their mood at this point in time. I think that's exceptionally important. You had talked about obviously the attribution on a larger scale, but any agency partners that are currently working with Spotify would be able to show that footfall traffic and so on and so forth. I challenge dealers that are listening to this to work with their agency partners. And Matt, this goes out to you as an agency partner there. Hello. That, you guys start putting these relationships in place. Dealers, don't be afraid to ask for that data. This is going to show you whether or not, probably more times yes than no, that the spend was efficient, that it provided you a return on investment, that it got people to your door. That's exactly what we're looking for in 2020 and then 2021 and beyond. And then ultimately how to get started. You touched on that, which helpful to dealers. Do you have by any chance, and not to put you on the spot, but I mean, dealers I'm sure can just do Spotify Ad Studio. Is there a specific URL that you might have that we can put out there?
I got a great one. First off, thank you for letting me go around the idea, around the discussion of what's coming up next. My PR team thanks you for allowing me to skirt that issue altogether.
You're like a politician. Let me ask the question and then stand around.
Skirt around it. Ads.spotify.com. There is a great form that you could fill out. Someone will be in touch with you within 24 hours, hopefully even a little bit less, and we could start the conversation from there.
There you go. Get started on Spotify, ads.spotify.com. Matt, that was great. What are you doing?
Boom, look at that.
Oh.
Look at that. Boom. Matt, you're in the agency world. You and I are going to have a conversation after this. So
we buy Spotify programmatically.
Good. I like it.
Yes, and we love it, and our clients love it.
I think Spotify is, especially in major markets, Spotify right now, programmatically from the dealership level, is a really interesting buy. We're seeing the dealerships that are using it have success, and to me, the biggest metric of success is they're coming back again, and they're doing second or third or now fourth purchases and buys and campaigns on the platform. So we're trying to take that lesson and that learnings and now bring it to everyone else and get everyone else on the platform.
We could still talk, though. I wouldn't say that.
Whatever you want.
Don't call me, but we could still talk.
You guys better talk. I feel like I'm left out now. And so I know, Craig, on our initial conversation, as we continue to grow at the Nielsen Automotive Group, I want to do something with Spot-ify too for our newer stores. So I know you were amped up about it, but we'll make it known now that we want to do it. So.
Can we plug your new stores? Is this
listen, everything in the dealer world, we always try to make it go as smoothly as possible. So as the digital marketing geek that I am, I had our conversation with our general manager and dealer principal, and I said, hey, I need an opening date so I can have a website and everything ready, right? The digital showroom's got to be ready to go. Well, I was ready to go, or am ready to go, but now the opening's been pushed back a month. So I'm kind of in this purgatory. It's digital marketing hell, but we're all used to that.
For this time, like, COVID and an election coming up and end of year, this is a really crazy time for dealerships in tier 3, right? And it's an amazing time as well because there's so much opportunity. There's so much pent up demand that it's wild to think about, and it's a wild area to be playing in right now because there's just so much happening. And so how do we help? I think that's the big thing here. And for all of us, everyone you've interviewed, is how do we help? There's just a lot going on.
Yeah, no, and wild but fun, right?
Wild but
fun. I think that's it. I feel like there's a little danger. I'd like to live dangerously. It's a little wild but fun.
Just a little danger, right? Just a little danger.
No, it's just a little danger. But with that, thank you so much, Craig. That was Craig Weingarten, Global Head of Industry and QSR, which we've learned is fast food, anywhere that's quick service restaurants. Could be Panera, could be Chick-fil-A, could be Chipotle, could be any of them. But with that, thank you, Craig. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate your wealth of information. And dealers, please, by all means, go to ads.spotify.com. It's on the screen. I'm going to say it one more time. ads.spotify.com to get started on Spotify today and start making some smart decisions regarding your advertising, okay? Do it on Spotify. Thank you, Craig. We appreciate it. Take care.
Bye.
Well, Matt, we've done it. We've done another episode of Experimarketing, episode 6, the right Spot-ify, which I might change to Don't Ruin My Vibe.
I like that. I used to have a friend who would call me up and he would be like, dude, I was because I would like voice the commercials at one of my stores. Dude, I was exercising and you totally ruined my workout with your commercial. So I do like that term.
Don't ruin my vibe. That's really cool. So with that, great conversation today with Spot-ify and Craig Weingarten, Global Head of Industry over there. Absolutely incredible. What we do want to say, thank you for tuning in to this episode of Experimarketing, powered by Mostly Automotive Marketing with Matt Wilson, which is Matt Wilson's podcast. And he does that, bi-weekly-ish basis, but he does some awesome live content, and he's had some other great industry leaders, people from ad agencies, people that are marketers, experts in different realms come on and provide input, which I think is just absolutely incredible and why I wanted to partner with Matt for Experimarketing. But with that stated, on Facebook and on YouTube, you can search Mostly Automotive Marketing with Matt Wilson. Please like and follow his profile on Facebook. Subscribe on YouTube for Experimarketing to stay up to date on all things Experimarketing, and Experimarketing Express, the podcast where we get the same great information in 5 minutes or less. Please search Experimarketing Podcast on Facebook, like and follow there. And then also on YouTube, Experimarketing Podcast. You'll see my ugly mug. Don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date on all this great information. And also connect on LinkedIn. And that's that. Thank you, Matt Wilson. Play us out. That's Experimarketing. We'll see you guys next time.